All right, I think we will go ahead and get started. Well, first of all, happy Chronic Disease Awareness Day. Thanks to everyone who could join us today, whether you're with us on Zoom or at one of our host locations across the state. We've got over 10 different host locations across the state, and we had over about 40 some registered over Zoom. So thank you guys all for joining us, wherever you're at. Thank you to all of our host sites. So everyone who got your host location set up today, thank you guys for allowing a spot to celebrate Chronic Disease Awareness Day with us. Today we've got a lot of awesome stuff on the schedule today. You guys are in for a big treat. Here we've got our agenda for the day. You guys are going to hear from some awesome SDSU Extension experts with Leacey Brown, our state gerontologist, Julie Nelson, our mental health field specialist, and Erin Hallenbeck, our physical activities field specialist. And then our keynote speaker today, we're super excited that she's joining us today. She's an author of the book Turning, The Magic and Mystery of More Days, talks about the wonder in aging. We're super excited to have her today, Becky Blue. So she'll be our keynote, wrap up our conversation today. And then we'll just do some wrap ups at the end, a little bit about workshops, other resources we have for you, and then we'll have time for a Q&A. So a little bit more about Chronic Disease Awareness Day. So thanks to Governor Larry Roden of South Dakota, the whole month of July is recognized as Chronic Disease Awareness Month. Chronic disease affects hundreds of thousands of people in the state of South Dakota. We're working on decreasing those numbers. We want to help people get diagnosed with their conditions, treat their conditions, and basically just live a healthier, more fulfilling life. So that's kind of the whole purpose of today. We want to give you guys resources, information on different strategies you can use to manage your chronic condition, to reduce your risk of getting a chronic condition, or just live your best life wherever you're at. So a little bit more just about our program. So today, Better Choices, Better Health of South Dakota is hosting this webinar today. A little bit about our program. We offer free statewide self-management education workshops and physical activity workshops across the state. They can be done virtually or in person. Below on this little chart here are the different workshops that we offer. So covering things like chronic conditions, chronic pain, cancer, diabetes. We have workshops specifically for caregivers. So if you're a caregiver for a loved one who has an illness, a worksite wellness program, and aging mastery. And then those three in yellow here on the right, those are our physical activity workshops. So walk with ease, enhanced fitness, and Tai Chi. So these are all just resources for you if you're someone who's currently dealing with one of these chronic conditions. These are workshops that we offer across the state that might be a great tool for you or a loved one. A little bit about our Better Choices, Better Health team. This is just some introduction. So depending where you're at across the state, some of these people might be in your locations. You might know them. So we have Lori Oster. She's in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, our SDSU Extension Program Director. Then we have Megan Jacobson. She is out currently on maternity leave, but she's our SDSU Extension Chronic Disease Management Field Specialist. Sam Christensen is in Winter. She is our program and volunteer coordinator. Emily Vincelli is out of Sioux Falls, our extension worksite program manager. And then Sandy Traupel is our engagement and enrollment coordinator. And then we have Diane Yaden. She is in Aberdeen. She is a community health educator. I'm also out of Aberdeen, a community health educator, Macy Hines. We have Becky Beeson. She is a SDSU Extension family and community health educator. And we have Hope Rasmussen, also one of our family and community health educators. And then Michelle Krenz, one of our family and community health educators. So hopefully depending where you're at, you're familiar with some of these faces. So, all right, next I'm going to pass it off to Leacey Brown. She is our state specialist for a state gerontologist. So we are going to let her take over and she's going to talk about gerotranscendence. So I will pass it off to her.
Thanks, Macy. So yes, my name is Leacey Brown. I'm a gerontology field specialist with South Dakota State University Extension. And to start off this conversation, I probably should inform you about what gerontology is for those who don't know. And it really is the science of how we age. I am an expert at aging. I know my hair does not look gray enough to be an expert of aging, but I have spent the last 15 years of my life studying the science of how we age. And realistically, most people don't even think about their advancing age until they're my age, and then they start lamenting how old they feel in their 40s. So I'm very much someone who spends a lot of time thinking about how we age and how we can age better. So the topic of gerotranscendence absolutely taps into our belief systems. Every one of us has a belief system. This belief system answers very important questions. What is the meaning of life? How did we get here? Why is there suffering? What happens after we die? And how do we make sense of life's mysteries? Life's mysteries are those things that happen and you can't explain. You lost your keys one day and you're running around your house trying to find them. And lo and behold, that delay helped you to miss an accident on the road. It's just those life mysteries. So I just want to touch on that because gerotranscendence really does get into our belief systems. So what is gerotranscendence? This is a theory that was developed by Dr. Lars Tornstam out of Sweden. He was a pioneer in social gerontology. And really, this theory proposes that we experience positive mental and emotional development up until the very end of our life. That is possible. Unfortunately, most people think aging is all decline mentally. People think dementia, cognitive loss is just a normal part of aging that could be expected to everyone. And that is just not what we see. There is this process that occurs in our mind that moves us towards maturity and wisdom. It really is a perspective shift. We experience life events that really alter our understanding of who we are and our place in this world. And it's often loss. Loss often first forces us to reevaluate who we are. And chronic disease can be one of those events that really forces us to shift our perspective and our understanding of who we are. As an example, if you envisioned that you and your spouse were going to spend your retirement traveling across America, enjoying all the beautiful parks and wonders that we have in this great country, but then suddenly your spouse has dementia. You have to shift your understanding of who you are and what your future is going to look like. And that can be a very difficult thing to do. But it is part of that resilience that we have as we age to overcome the losses that we will experience, because loss does happen. None of us are getting out of this life without going through some sort of loss. But I'm not describing a process that leads to depression and sadness. This is a process that leads to greater satisfaction. There are signs and dimensions of gerotranscendence. I do not have the time to go through them all. There is a handout that I have prepared for my presentation. It is available to everybody at the watch party now, so grab a copy for sure. Those of you who are viewing by webinar, this will be emailed to you so you can learn and dig in and learn more about what this is. We have an article on our webpage that you can learn more. But there are three dimensions: the cosmic dimension, the self dimension, and the social and personal relationships. As I said, I can't go through each and one of these, but I want to highlight a couple. So number 2, under cosmic dimension, that connection to the earlier generation. You really see that in interest in genealogy, or an interest in planning for future generations, like making decisions that affect future generations in a positive way. But that genealogy, you see that a lot. I'm sure you know many people who have become more interested in genealogy, their ancestors, as they've gotten older. Number 4, under social and personal relationships, modern asceticism. That is the idea that the last part of life is lived better with less stuff. Swedish death cleaning, it may be something that you have heard of, but these things I have listed on the screen are the different changes that happen mentally and emotionally in our minds as we get older. And it's important to understand this process begins in the first half of life. It doesn't start at 65. Honestly, 65 means nothing in the world of aging unless you're dealing with social policy like Medicare, Social Security. You can't look at a body and be like, oh, that body is 65. It's just a number. This process of gerotranscendence, it happens earlier. Mothers often experience it before women without children and men because having a child can force a perspective shift. You were originally a single person, maybe part of a couple, and now you have this new life that's completely dependent on you. That can shift your perspective. So, how does this relate to living with chronic disease? Well, I'm here today to give you some tips that can help you move towards maturity and wisdom. So, number one, choose topics of conversation not focused on health and physical limitations. I facilitate a purpose book club, and the author talks about organ recitals, and he's talking about physical organs where people complain about which organ is not working. So we don't want all of our conversations to be focused on our health and our decline. You need to acknowledge it, but it shouldn't be the sole focus of what your mind is thinking about and what your words are coming out of your mouth. Choose topics of conversation that facilitate and further personal growth. You are capable of growing and developing until the very end of your life. So have conversations that can help that happen. It's going to help you grow new neurons, and growing new neurons is what keeps our brain healthier over time. Explore what you dream about while you're sleeping and what those dreams might mean. You could keep a dream journal. Encourage conversations to recall and talk about childhood and old times and how you learned and grew as a person. Embrace the need for positive solitude. We have this stereotype in our culture that people get lonely as they get older. And while there are people who genuinely do experience lonely, that subjective experience of not having enough connection with other people, but that is not the experience of all older people. Positive solitude is that time that we need by ourselves to really reflect and process the life that we've lived. Engage in reminiscence activities. Highly encourage you to check out the SDSU Extension website. We offer writing workshops, but engage in these activities. You can do oral sharing, you can do writing, you can do small group discussions, you can do scrapbooking, you can do art, you can do music. But that act of reminiscence really can help move you towards that life satisfaction, that maturity, that wisdom. And then participate in meditation. And why meditation is called out here is because we spend too much time thinking about what happened to the past, thinking what we're going to do next, thinking about the to-do list. We spend way too much time with our brain just going. Meditation encourages us to stop the mental chatter. And by stopping that mental chatter, you're going to give your brain a break. And your brain truly needs a break from all the noise. That is my wrap up. I did not put my contact info on here. Apologize. It is on the handout that will get sent to you. I should have remembered to put it on the slides. So thank you for your time. I will turn it back over to Macy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leacey. And we also have a handout coming at the end to those over Zoom with Leacey's information too. So she's got a lot of great info. So, all right. Let me go to my screen share here. All right, you guys. Next up, we have Julie Nelson. She is our SDSU Extension Mental Health Field Specialist, and she's going to talk a little bit more on mental health and chronic conditions. So we will pass it over to her.
All right. Thank you for the invite today. As Macy said, Julie Nelson here. I'll skip that slide since she did a nice introduction. Thank you. I want to get this on presenter mode so it works a little better here. Here we go. So why are we here today? I just want to cover this. I think we probably all know this, but frequently occurring conditions in older adults include all of the following. Of course, these things can be in our younger populations too. And so coping with the chronic health conditions becomes a priority when we have about 80% of older adults having at least one of those chronic diseases and possibly two or more. It becomes important if we're experiencing it or if we are caregivers, family members, community members as well. So we all have a role in this. Oops. And so coping strategies become very important during this time frame. Shoring up your support system is super important. Improving your communication skills so that when you visit with the professionals that are trying to help you, they get a good idea of what's happening. And then also we want to develop those healthy exercise and eating habits. And I know that after me, Erin's going to help you with some movement. We want to learn to identify and moderate individual stressors. And Macy, at the beginning of her presentation, did a great job of sharing all the great free classes that are available to South Dakotans across our state. One in particular that comes to mind with managing chronic disease is highlighted here. I'll be helping teach one of those classes here later, but I bring that up because today we just don't have a lot of time and it's a short snapshot of some things we can do to manage our emotions, but there is a whole chapter using your mind to manage symptoms devoted in that workshop. So we want to learn mindfulness skills today, and I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to do the best I can. But mindfulness is both a mental state, and we're trying to keep our attention in the present moment, which is a little difficult in today's world with distractions. But our goal is just to simply observe with no intention to improve or change anything. And I don't know about you, but when I'm sitting still, I start noticing all the things I need to do. So then I get up and start doing all the things that are driving me nuts. But that really is not mindfulness. And then we want to observe and accept life just as it is, with those pleasures we might see, the pains, the frustrations, the disappointments, and the insecurities. And finally, it's kind of funny how this works, but it allows for calmness, confidence, and being able to cope with what comes along. All right, so how do we do this? Just going to give you some tips here. We're going to move into a breathing activity here shortly to give you an idea of what's coming. Wherever you are, whether you're in a watch party, your office, or virtually in your home, maybe other places, I just need you to sit comfortably or stand. I'm standing. Wherever you are, with your back, neck, and head straight, not stiff though, relax as much as you can. We want you to concentrate on a single object or activity to really experience mindfulness, and we will focus on breathing. I've chosen that for you. But if you weren't going to do breathing, you might focus on your eyeglass case or a cup of coffee or whatever you have available. All right. And then as you breathe, you really just want to focus on your attention on the breathing and the feeling of the air as it passes in and out of your nostrils with each breath, really getting in tune with what's happening with your breath. And definitely your mind may wander off. It's okay to notice where it's going. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's a worry about the future that you have, or a body ache or feeling of impatience. Maybe you want to be done with what's happening. And that's okay, but gently just return your attention to the breathing if that happens. So how are we going to do this? I'm going to give you some directions first, because we do have some people in the watch parties, and then some of us are virtual as well. If you're in a watch party, your site host should have paper copies of this Mindful Moments checklist, which I'll pull up here shortly. Virtual participants, I'm going to pull this up. And then we're going to start with the mood check. Just one moment on that. I just want to bring this all up. I probably will not come back to this screen, but in the Mindful Moments checklist, there will be an opportunity for you to identify one thing you are grateful for. And I would just ask that if you put those in the chat, or if your host does that for you, if that's okay too. Okay, let's get to the Mindful Moments checklist. Hopefully you can all see this. Get a little larger. So here we are, and this is something you're more than welcome to take with you today, and should be emailed out to you as well. But it's just the first page is what we're going to focus on today. I'm going to do the mindful moments. Erin's going to help you with the physical movement. The back side and there is a backside. There's other things to do. I would encourage you to do that on your own. But just these simple daily check-ins can support long-term mental well-being, and those small mindful actions add up. Okay, so the mood check is, how are you feeling today? You can go ahead and answer that yourself. And the quick tip is, if you're feeling low, try to identify one simple action that could improve your mood, something small like taking a short break from work with movement perhaps, or talking to a loved one. But we're going to zero in right here. And remember, I went over how to be mindful previously. And we're going to take 5 deep breaths using the 4-4-4 breathing. And all that is very simply, you breathe in for seconds. You hold the breath for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out for 4 seconds. And we're going to do that 5 times. So that should take us about 60 seconds, or right at a minute. I will coach you through the first one. And after that, I'm going to let you do it on your own. Well, maybe that's not going to show us. I'm trying to get to my wallpaper. There it is. Okay. All right. So remember, we're trying to be in the moment, avoid distractions, not let our mind wander. And just for 1 minute, we're going to pause and breathe. All right. First breath in. Hold. And exhale. And I'll let you do the rest on your own. All right. So I have right at a minute. In a short amount of time, we can do a lot of mindfulness work. Obviously, you could spend more time on breathing or another activity to be mindful. For example, our chronic disease workshop talks about how you can be mindful with a towel and noticing after you shower or bathe how that feels on your skin, which most of us are just hurriedly going through the motions and not even thinking about it. You can be mindful when you eat. You can be mindful when you play with your pets, your children, etc. Okay. Let's see. I don't think I have anything left here, and I think my time is about up as well. Yeah. Oh, one more thing. Almost. So, one thing that you are grateful for, if you're able to put it in the chat, go at this time. Maybe I'll try that myself. Oh, well, I'm in a chat that's just with Leacey for some reason, so I'm not seeing it all. Let me get to that. All right. Becky Blue says summer, the rain we have. Oh, there's a lot in here. Thank you. Our freedoms, the rain we have been receiving. Thank you for sharing. Summer, my drywall is being done this week. Leacey says, so grateful. My family. All right. Thank you, everyone, for participating. My legs, sunshine, healthy sun. Yeah, keep them coming. All right, just for time reasons, because I know we have 2 more presenters and we want to stay on a timeline, I'm going to end my time and hand it over to Erin, who's going to help you with some physical activity as I understand it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Julie. Yes, as she mentioned, we'll pass it off to Erin Hallenbeck. She's going to give us a little bit of a movement break and talk a little bit about the importance of physical activity.
Yes, hello everybody. Hopefully you can hear me and see my screen. But like Macy said, my name is Erin Hallenbeck. I'm the Health and Physical Activity Field Specialist, and I'm based here in Sioux Falls. I'm excited to be here with you today to talk about something that plays a really big role in our overall well-being, and that is exercise. So we've heard two really great presentations so far. We have more good stuff to come. So first, we're going to be getting up and moving a little bit to take a little movement break, and then learning about some benefits of physical activity, some guidelines and recommendations, and then some different ways to help you stay active, no matter what your age or fitness level is. So the goal is to give you some encouragement to move more and hopefully feel a little better. So I'm going to give you a couple seconds to stand up if you'd like and you're able. Otherwise, anything that we do, you'll be able to do seated as well. So whatever you're most comfortable with, I'll give you a few seconds to get up and give yourself some room. And I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute so you can see me a little bit better. All right. All right, hopefully everyone can see me. We're gonna start with some neck rolls. So we're gonna have our shoulders relaxed and just move our head in a nice big circle, loosening up our neck muscles. Do a few circles one way, then you can switch and go the other. Good. All right, next, go ahead and look forward again. We're gonna raise our shoulders up to our ears with a big breath in. And when we breathe out, we're gonna drop them down and away. Good. Again, shoulder shrug up. Breathe in and breathe out, let them drop. Good. One more time. Breathe in, shoulder shrug, and let them drop. Good job. All right, next we're gonna do a little bit of a spinal twist. So we're gonna try to keep our hips facing forward and just twist side to side. All the way through our spinal column. Good job. Make sure to keep those shoulders relaxed, not up tense by our ears. Good. All right, now we're gonna put our hands together and roll our wrists in a circle. Our hands and wrists are a common place that we might get arthritis, or if you are typing on a computer a lot of the day, this is a good one to just stop and roll it out. There we go, good. All right, next one, we're gonna reach our arms all the way up with a big inhale. We can clasp our hands together and we're gonna tip to one side. Good, back to the center, reach up tall, and let's do the other side. Feel that stretch all the way through our hip, our side, up through our armpit, all the way to the fingertips. One more time each way. Big reach. Looking good, everybody. And last time, other direction. Good, go ahead and release those arms down. All right, we're almost there. We're gonna do a little bit of a march. So get those knees up, get those arms going. You don't have to lift your knees up high. You can keep it down nice and low. Or if you want, you can even just kind of move your heels up and down. You don't even have to lift your feet. So whatever feels comfortable for you. Good. All right, now let's step side to side. So we're going side to side, step together. Awesome. If you want, you can lift your heel up towards the glutes, add a little bit of a leg curl. Awesome. And the last one, let's bring those feet about hip width apart. We're going to do some calf raises. So up and down on our toes, up to your tippy toes and back down. And if you're seated, you can just lift those heels up and down. Let's do two more. Lift and lower. Last one, lift and lower. All right. Nice job, everybody. I'll give you a couple seconds to get back to your seat, and then I just have a little bit more info for you before we move on to our next speaker. So let me share again. So let's talk a little bit about what those guidelines for physical activity are. So they're broken up into 4 categories. The first one is aerobic activity, which is also known as cardio. So that's anything that is going to get your heart rate up. like walking, cycling, swimming, dancing, even stuff like mowing the lawn is getting your heart rate up. All of that counts towards your aerobic activity. So the recommendation is to get at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity each week. So that's about 30 minutes a day, 5 minutes or 5 days a week if you break it up. And if you're wondering what moderate intensity means, that's going to be you can keep a conversation going. You're not too out of breath to talk, but you are too out of breath to sing probably. So that's a good way to gauge whether you are doing moderate intensity activity. That is going to look different for everybody. Or if you'd prefer to work out harder and shorter, you can do 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity per week. So that means you're breathing hard and fast. You can only get a few words out before you need to stop and pause and take a breath. So you can mix and match moderate and vigorous throughout the week to get to those recommendations. Next up is strength training, 2 days a week, focusing on all those major muscle groups. It improves muscle mass, bone density, helps prevent injury, boosts metabolism, and just supports those daily activities like carrying in heavy groceries in one trip. Next is going to be balance exercises. So for older adults at risk of falling, it's recommended to do 3 days a week or more. And examples of this might be Tai Chi, yoga, or different balance exercises like heel to toe walking or standing on one foot. And lastly, we have flexibility work. It's recommended to do stretches 2 to 3 days a week to work on flexibility. So some of the benefits of physical activity, the physical ones first is you might know that it reduces the risk of chronic diseases. This interesting stat from American Heart Association says people who follow the minimum guidelines for moderate or vigorous long-term leisure physical activity lower the risk of dying from any cause by as much as 21%. So pretty cool stat there about exercise. And exercise also maintains healthy bones, muscles, and joints, and improves balance and coordination. Other important benefits that maybe people don't think of right away with physical activity is the social and mental emotional benefits that come with it. So it builds connections and reduces loneliness. Getting involved in group classes, walking clubs, or team sports can be a great way to meet new people and stay socially engaged and create that sense of purpose. And then it kind of like Julie talked about, the mental and emotional benefits as well, reduces the risk of anxiety and depression, enhances cognitive function, and may delay dementia. Again, here are some different ways to stay active, those group classes, daily tasks like gardening, yard work, even shopping, joining walking groups, things like that. And even short bursts of physical activity, 1 to 2 to 3 minutes throughout the day, all of that adds up to those 150 minutes. Macy already went over some of the programs we offer, so I won't spend too much time on that. Here's my contact information. If you have any more questions about exercise, I'm happy to help. So thank you guys, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Erin. All right, our final speaker today, I will quickly do a little screen share here. Awesome. Okay, we are super excited to have her join us today. Becky Blue is an author. She has written the book Turning: The Magic and Mystery of More Days. If any of you are familiar with Mel Robbins, we thought we'd put this in here. So we've got a cool quote here on this book from Mel Robbins. It said, "Don't you dare say you're too old. Your next chapter could be the best of your life, and Becky will show you how." So super excited to have her here today. Going to talk a little bit about the wonder of aging. And we also, for those at in-person sites, we do have a book giveaway at each of those sites. So if you're at an in-person location, your host will do a drawing at the end for a chance to win her book. So thank you so much for being here, Becky. We'll pass it off to you.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I have an affinity for South Dakota. I've lived here all my life, and I've been a nurse in geriatrics for a long time with Sanford. I recently retired, but I got my master's degree at SDSU, specifically in geriatric nursing. And what I love about South Dakota, and I think I've got this perspective because I just returned from a road trip all the way to Los Angeles and all the way back. So I've been sitting way too much. Anyway, what I love is our state obviously is large geographically, but it's small in population. And so to have the kind of resources that we have, that we've heard from these experts this morning, I've taken lots of notes. It's just been delightful. So I hope that we all realize what a gift we have here in the community of South Dakota and how we can really help each other thrive in what I call this third chapter of life. So let's get started. My book, and I hope y'all win one and can have fun reading my book, was inspired when I was going to turn 60 myself. I'm 65 now. And I think so many people were kind of freaking out, my friend group of turning 60. And so I thought, I'm a geriatric nurse. I can figure this out. I'm going to write about it. And it happened to be during COVID. So I had a library full of books in my house that I used, having been studying all these things in my younger years. So anyway, what I decided to do was to call it Turning, the Magic and Mystery of More Days. And I hear that so much in all the speakers we just heard, that there really can be magic and mystery in this last, or not necessarily last, but this third chapter of life. So one of the ways I start the book, and I'm just going to maybe surprise you here, but I'm going to sing a little bit. So the book starts out with this favorite song from the 1960s. Do everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. I hope some of you were singing along, and I hope everyone knows that great song. What that song is based on actually is the biblical scripture in Ecclesiastes 3, and it talks about this dichotomy of things we go through every day. I love that song, and it actually explains nearly every possible situation we could find ourselves in. It covers all the magic and mystery of our more days. So, what if there was a way to prepare ourselves each day for the joy and the sorrows, the planting and the uprooting, the searching and the giving up? Prepare so that we are more resilient. We've heard that word today. Or prepare so maybe some of the negative situations that we encounter don't overcome us. So we're going to do a little group project today. I'm going to suggest that we build a table together. Have you ever built a table? I think I built a small one in shop class when I was in the 8th grade in Hurley, South Dakota. I find a table to be a very powerful piece of furniture, and I'm guessing you would probably agree with that. You probably have a favorite one in your home, or maybe in your past, you can think about the table that you grew up around and what stories that table could tell. Is there anything better than gathering around a table? So just take a moment here, maybe look at a table that's in the room you're in, or just picture one from your past or in your house now that you love. The table, of course, that we're going to build is virtual, and I'm just amazed as I listen to the speakers today. They were already building the table with kind of the things I was planning on. So we're going to just sort of dovetail, no pun intended if you're a woodworker, we're going to dovetail those talks into what I like to call our ageless table. So obviously, the first thing we need is 4 legs to stand on. So the first leg of this sturdy table is going to be breathe or breath. And we already did that. I mean, that's just so wonderful. I hope that you all build in breath exercises to your day. We know that breathing appropriately, we all breathe much too shallowly. The appropriate way to breathe is just how you were what the exercise that we just went through, and what the benefits are. It can reduce anxiety, stress. It can reduce stress. You can have better emotional regulation, those times when you're about ready to lose it. Take some time to do that breath exercise. It can improve your sleep quality. A lot of times I do a breath exercise before I am, or when I'm trying to fall asleep. And it can give us overall enhanced mental well-being, better focus, and who doesn't want that? So first leg, breath, remember that. Second leg is movement. And we just saw some great examples of movement. We know that in our society of today, and we are not immune from this, even though maybe we're not at a desk job anymore. We know that sitting is considered the new smoking. So think about that. Sitting is the new smoking. So all of the physiological things that come from smoking, the same thing happens when you're sitting too much. And so the experts really recommend that you move every 20 minutes. So maybe if you're binge watching your favorite TV show, still make yourself get up and move around. I have taken Pilates for probably 10 or 15 years. I absolutely love it. My instructor is named Gretchen, and she always comes up with these great images for me. And the one that she likes to remind me of is that our hips become a junk drawer. Now, let me guess, I bet we all have a junk drawer in our house. I don't know if that's a South Dakota thing or what, but I probably have more than one. But picture your hips as a junk drawer. It's kind of where everything settles, especially when you're sitting so much. So our goal should be to keep the tightness cleared out and our energy stabilized. And to do that, we need to move our hips. So think of some of those old hula hoop moves you used to do. One thing I was just going to share about myself is I started taking ballet at the age of 63. And in fact, a couple of weeks ago, I just tested out of grade 1 Cicchetti, which is usually something you would do if you were in 4th grade. But I did it as a 65-year-old. And I was so proud of myself. And the reason I started taking ballet was because I knew it would give me strength and it would help me improve my balance. And that truly has been the case. So any kind of exercise, and we've already talked about that, just find something that you love and probably find some people to do it with that will make you be more attentive to it. The third leg, so we've got breath, movement. The third leg of our table is going to be do something new. Do something new every day. I have a favorite book. I'm going to hold it up here for those of you who like to read. It's called New: Understanding the Need for Novelty and Change. And it's written by Winifred Gallagher. She's a fascinating writer. And what I learned from her is something that I innately always feel. I get a little bit bored, I get a little bit stuck, and I like to do things that are new. So she really connected the dots for me. Doing something new each day can help you age well. What it does is it makes you more pliable. It helps you embrace new and novel things and keeps you more adaptable to the surprises that are surely coming your way. So if we tend to have the exact same pattern every day, we eat the same thing, we go to the same coffee shop, we watch the same TV shows, then all of a sudden, if the next day you fall or you have a new diagnosis or you lose someone special to you, it can be so, so jarring. But if you intentionally do something new every day, it doesn't have to be monumental, but maybe just call someone or talk to somebody new in the grocery store, just to keep yourself pliable and able to respond more easily to new situations. So that's the third leg of our table, do something new. And now the fourth one is one that's especially special. That's not very good language, but anyway, it's special to me because it really hits on the topic of my book. The fourth leg is called turn, or turn outside yourself. It's easy to turn into ourselves and think about our current situation, or even be consumed with a past situation, a past hurt, a past loss. This fourth leg of the table can be so powerful and will truly give you energy and a new mindset your mind will be set on someone else rather than yourself. So anytime you can, and think of these 4 legs when you wake up in the morning, you're going to breathe, you're going to move, you're going to do something new, you're going to turn outside yourself. And, it's easy to kind of do the navel gazing thing, if you've heard of that. I loved one of the speakers, the gerontologist, used the organ recital phrase, which is one of my favorites. None of us want to call a friend and hear the organ recital. Well, we need to for a little bit. Then let's turn outside ourselves and tell a different story. And what's so great, if you go back to leg number 3, if you do something new every day, you will have a new story to tell when you go to coffee or when you talk to your grandkids, and they'll think, wow, Grandma, you did that. That's really cool. So I think just trying to find those new things, or even just if you're really kind of limited to your home, and certainly some of you probably are, hopefully you have a computer or reading materials. Do a deep dive on a whole new concept or a whole new country of the world that you've never heard of before, and just grow your intellectual capacity, and you'll grow your stories. Researchers who have recently studied people who age the most successfully have found 2 common traits. And this is what we're going to do now. We're going to use these 2 common traits for the top of our table. We can't just have a table with 4 legs. We need to have a top. And the top is going to consist of friends and purpose. Now, friendship can be tricky, can't it? I have an aunt who's nearing 100, and she sadly has to share with me, all the friends who have kind of died, and it's hard to make new friends. And so that can be a whole lecture in itself, which I love to talk about, is friendship. We might end up relocating to a new town, have a new housing situation. But one of my tips for friendship, and this is for any age that you are, is to have a friend from every decade. So I like to have a friend who is in their younger than 10, I guess, and I've got some great nieces and nephews who fill that. I love to have a high school friend. I have friends who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, but then above me, I look for a friend in their 70s, 80s, 90s. It makes life so rich. You'll automatically learn new things, and you'll make each other better. And then the last thing we're going to put on our tabletop, we have friends up there. We're going to put purpose. And some of the speakers have touched on that today. Think about that for yourself. Maybe you have recently retired and are trying to decide how you want to give of your time. Maybe you are involved in your local senior center. You're the welcome wagon of your apartment building. Or maybe you have a new role as a volunteer at your church. All of those things give you purpose. I have to share the story of a lady I met recently at an assisted living here in Sioux Falls when I went to speak there about my book. She was just delightful. She was in her 90s. And she described herself as a professional whistler. And I had never met a professional whistler. And she just, performed a little bit for me. It was quite impressive. But what she does with her whistling is, in this complex where she lives, there's a memory care unit. So twice a week, she goes down to the memory care unit, and she meets one-on-one with these people who are experiencing dementia. And she whistles a tune, and then she encourages them to whistle it back to her. And whistling is a skill that can remain intact till your last days. And I just thought, how charming, not charming, that's a bad word. What a gift she is giving of herself. And she really found that as her purpose. And the other thing I loved about it was, here she was wanting to tell a complete stranger. I'd only met her like maybe 2 minutes prior to this. She was willing to share her story. And that's what I would encourage you to do with any of these things that we end up, now that we have our table and the top of friends and purpose, is always to share those stories then with people you meet. Just in closing, I want you to know that you are timeless. So building a timeless table totally makes sense. There's no expiration date on your hopes and dreams. Your ability to contribute to your family, friends, and community can stay intact. It might be a bit smaller, it might look different, but it is still there and will be cherished by those you share it with. One of my favorite things is when I talk to my almost 100-year-old aunt on the phone. I'm always energized by her conversations. So even though she's limited to a few square feet of where she lives in her assisted living and really doesn't leave the apartment, she still feeds other people through her communication. So let's build a timeless table each day. The legs are breathe, move, do something new, turn outside ourselves, and then fill that tabletop with friends and purpose. And to close, I'll just share the end of that Turn, Turn, Turn song. The last line is this: I swear it's not too late. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Becky. That was great. Those of you at the host sites, if you want to, we can give you a minute or so to do your drawings to win Becky's book. So anyone at those free sites, and then we will put the link to her website in the chat here too. So if any of you are interested and looking more at what Becky has, that will be in the chat here. Just give me 1 second. All right, you guys all should have that in the chat. So if you want to learn any more about Becky or connect with her more or get her book, order one for yourself or for someone you know in your life, that is in the chat. So, all right, last few things here, you guys. Pull up my screen again. All right. So as we wrap up the session today, you guys, we want to just give you a reminder and refresher on all those resources that we have. So first up on the screen, we have our QR code to register for a workshop. So all those workshops that we mentioned, covering chronic conditions, chronic pain, diabetes, cancer, caregivers, and then our physical activity workshops, walk with ease, enhanced fitness, Tai Chi. You can scan this QR code or you can call this phone number. So if any of you are on site or just on your computer, you can scan this. We'll also be sending that out in the chat shortly too for you to save any of those documents if you need. Next is just following us. So if you want to stay up to date on Better Choices, Better Health in South Dakota, all the workshops we offer. And then on top of that, just tips for healthy living. We share a lot of those just on our Facebook page. Here's another just QR code you can scan. So again, if you're in person, also we will have handouts with these as well. All right, and finally, with all of the experts that you heard from today, whether it's Leacey Brown, Julie Nelson, Erin Hallenbeck, or anyone else within SDSU Extension, this QR code will take you to the directory of all of our SDSU employees, all of their contact information. So if you have any questions on any of those resources, want to connect specifically with a field specialist, this is where you can do that. So. All right, finally, we thought we'd open it up for a Q&A. So with any of our attendees, if you have any questions for any of our speakers or panelists, anything about the resources we talked about today, we thought we would open it up to you guys. So feel free to put anything in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. Those at host sites, you can feel free to type anything in the chat if you have participants live who want to ask any questions. So we'll open that up here for a few minutes, and then I will also throw in a couple more resources here in the chat. All right, you guys, if we don't have any further questions, we just wanted to wrap up today and just say thank you, first of all, for everyone who's showed up, whether it's at an in-person site or just on Zoom. It looks like we've got a lot of Zoom participants here. Thank you just for your commitment to raising awareness about chronic diseases across South Dakota. Thank you to all of our speakers and our hosts who helped set up, make this possible, who took your time to speak for us today. A few reminders here. We just want to remind you that knowledge is power, and then taking proactive steps can really improve your life and the lives of those around you. So thanks again to all of our speakers. Don't forget about that book giveaway. We hope those insights, you can get your book. Again, any resources will also be emailed out in the coming days too. So hopefully you can get a good wrap up of all the info we talked about today. So thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, again, feel free to stick around.